Today we're going to make a lounge chair out of plywood. I'm working on some furniture designs for a new hotel, and these are going to need to be a little bit colorful. So I've been working with Minwax, which has some really great wood stains in over 200 different colors. I'm using 3/4 inch thick pure bond oak veneer plywood. I cut the pieces down so that they'll fit into my X-carve Pro CNC by Inventables. I really like this machine. I've gotten a ton of use out of it already, and the easel software is free and super easy to use. This is the first lounge chair in a whole series of plywood lounge chairs that I'm working on, and when the series is complete, I'll post the design files for these projects. One of the things I like about the easel software is that it automatically places tabs that keep your pieces in place while the CNC is cutting them. These tabs can easily be cut with a jigsaw or handsaw. I use my palm router with a flush trim bit to trim the tabs flat. A sanding sponge is a handy way to clean up the edges, and just like that, I'm ready to start the glue up. No fancy clamps needed for this project. I'm just using these 99-cent spring clamps, but I am trying to be nice and clean with the glue, just to minimize the amount of scraping I have to do with squeeze out. The structure for the chair is made with 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood. These side panels that give it its profile are made with overlapping pieces. This approach allows the chair to be made with a relatively small CNC machine, but more importantly, I like this approach because I intend to make templates so that these chairs could be made entirely out of scrap wood using just a router and these templates. I started by gluing the pieces one at a time, waiting about 2 hours to let the glue cure before removing the clamps and adding a new piece. I started by working on all 3 ends at the same time, and lining up the edges was not too difficult at all. There's a 3/4 inch ledge on the inside of these profile pieces, and that's going to be so that I can add 3/4 inch thick plywood that'll serve as the seat, leg, and backrests. The trickiest part was bringing all 3 ends together. I was able to line them up and apply squeeze clamps without too much trouble, but I think for future iterations, I might add some holes for dowels just to make this alignment a little bit easier. I tried to be real careful and clean with the glue, but I did get a little bit of squeeze out that I had to scrape away with a chisel. Now I could cut plywood at an angle and have a completely continuous surface, but I thought that might be a little too angular, and so I CNC'd out these little spacers for these angled joints. I love how precise my X-carve Pro is, but I did go in and fill in these tiny little hairline gaps with some Minwax wood putty. I like using the Minwax wood putty because it's stainable, and once it was fully dry, I sanded everything down nice and smooth. I put a round over bit into my palm router and gave a nice radius to all the exterior edges. I ripped some plywood to 19 inches wide and then cross-cut them to make the panels for the seat, leg rest, and backrest. I screwed in the first panel without glue, just so that the design would be stable while I glued in the remaining panels before adding screws. The angles in the design allow these panels not just to serve as seat and rest, but they also give overall strength to the chair itself. I removed that first panel, added glue, and then re-screwed it back in. This is really just a great way to get the design stable, so you're not dripping glue while you're trying to hold it all together. I added some short little filler pieces to the ends, and once that glue had fully cured, I used my Japanese pole saw to trim them flush. I don't want any splinters on the back side of my legs, so I used the palm router once again to round over these edges. I got the Minwax wood putty back out and covered up the screw heads and filled in any gaps between the pieces of plywood. I sanded everything again with the orbital sander using 220 grit paper and just took down the sharp geometry a little bit. The only tricky part for sanding was this inside triangular cavity, but I put a drum sander on my drill and was able to smooth everything out. This video is sponsored by Minwax, and I've been really excited to work with them and to test out their over 200 different options for colored stains. Now, these options are divided into 2 main categories: solid color and semi-transparent color wood stains. I use microfiber rags to wipe down the project and remove all of the wood dust. I also wipe the wood down with a water-based pre-stained wood conditioner, also from Minwax. I then used a staining pad to wipe the stain on. For this project we're using the color Daffodil in the semi-transparent. I keep another clean staining pad handy to remove excess and even out the coat. I've gotten pretty good at applying it consistently, so I don't need to do this too often, but you do want to keep that extra clean pad on hand because you want to remove the excess within 2 minutes of the initial application. I really like that the color is so aggressive, but you still see the wood grain showing through. This is a water-based product, so cleanup is not too tricky. It dries fast, and I only needed to do a single coat. I waited about 2 to 3 hours for the stain to dry, and then I added Minwax polyacrylic over the top. The stain adds color but not protection, so that's why you want to use a product like polyacrylic to protect your work. I applied 2 coats with a light sanding using 400 grit sandpaper in between. I drew this chair from scratch, so I was kind of curious to see how it would fit and feel. It works well for Jessie, but I think in the next iteration I make for her, I will shorten up the seat by about 1.5 inches. For myself, it's a good fit from the seat to the feet, but I need to extend the backrest and possibly the headrest. One of the things I'm really excited about for digital fabrication is the idea of parametric or adjustable working files. I'm working on this lounge as a series of different iterations so that I can make multiple options for multiple body types. I really like the idea of downloading files off the internet that are tailored for your unique dimensions. So you'll be seeing additional iterations of this design on this channel, and I'm also thinking about adding in little features like a built-in side table. Thanks for Minwax for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out the link in the description to learn more about their awesome colored wood stains, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks!